Now, I want you to imagine a fortress buried so incredibly deep within the earth that just riding the elevator down to it takes 5 grueling minutes. Above it, you've got multiple layers of state-of-the-art security, thousands of elite guards, and literal iron nets stretched out just to catch the sky from falling in. For 36 years, the man inside this bunker was considered an absolutely impossible target, hidden behind one of the most impenetrable shields on the entire planet. But on February 28, 2026, that shield was shattered in an instant.
The 10-year hunt, anatomy of a geopolitical strike. Let's get right into today's explainer, because we are unpacking a gripping, literally minute-by-minute breakdown of a speculative, multi-year intelligence operation that reads like a thriller.
Okay, so to understand this, let's actually look at the sheer scale of the target we're talking about here, the Mosaic complex in Tehran. Above ground, you have the Pasteur Street compound. It's this massive, sprawling 30-acre fortress. It houses 50 top government offices, all locked down by 3 distinct heavy security perimeters. But here's the crazy part. That's just the surface. What lay beneath was the real nightmare for intelligence agencies. The source describes a staggering 5-kilometer tunnel network. It's a subterranean labyrinth connecting the deep bunker to 8 secret exits, hidden away beneath things like multi-story parking lots, schools, and hospitals. It was quite literally a city beneath a city.
So, how do you even begin to breach an impenetrable fortress like that? Well, we actually have to rewind all the way back to 2018. See, before this, Israeli intelligence was mostly focused on disrupting Iran's nuclear sites. But the problem was, every time a site was destroyed, the Iranian leadership just rebuilt it. It was a vicious cycle. But the major inciting incident, the thing that shifted the entire strategy, happened on January 31, 2018. Mossad agents pull off this unbelievable heist in a Shurabad warehouse. They literally cut through iron safes with blowtorches and steal half a ton of secret nuclear files. And this heist? It was a massive reality check. It exposed all these secret underground facilities that satellites couldn't even see. It made it chillingly clear, targeting sites was never going to be enough. The leadership itself had to become the target.
Now you might be thinking, why not just go after them right then? Well, eliminating a figurehead like Supreme Leader Khamenei isn't just a simple tactical strike. It's a massive geopolitical earthquake. You really have to think of it less as a military operation and more like a high-stakes game of global chess, where one single wrong move means catastrophic fallout. The source points out that assassinating a national symbol risked triggering a full-scale war and a massive international backlash. So, they initiated a strategic delay. Intelligence agencies knew they had to be patient. They had to wait for the exact right political window, making absolutely sure they had diplomatic backing, specifically from the United States, before they ever pulled the trigger.
But while they waited, the net was quietly tightening. And the infiltration tactics they used were just relentless and honestly super visceral. They weren't just sitting in a room hacking computers, they were putting actual human operatives on the ground, embedding them as maintenance staff. We're talking electricians, plumbers, and cleaners working right outside the compound. They were literally analyzing the physical waste coming out of the facility, checking food deliveries, and at the exact same time they're infecting the phones of guards, drivers, and doctors with Pegasus spyware. Oh, and in the shadows, thousands of drones are being quietly smuggled into the country, just tucked away, waiting for 0 hour.
And this right here brilliantly illustrates what they call the Skynet cast over Tehran. It's fascinating how perfectly interconnected this all was. Israeli Unit 8200 found a bug in Chinese-made street cameras and hacked right into the street-level view of the compound, so they have eyes on the ground. Then, from way up above, the US KH-11 satellite is tracking the exact height of shadows just to identify antennas and vehicle types. Meanwhile, the Orion satellite is up there intercepting these faint whispers of radio traffic, taking that raw data and beaming it straight to Pine Gap, a super-remote CIA processing facility out in the middle of the Australian desert. The level of surveillance was just absolute.
But look, it's really important to remain impartial and note that Iran's counter-espionage was highly capable. They knew they were being watched. To fight back against this suffocating surveillance, top officials were literally forced to wear blindfolds when they were brought to the subterranean bunkers. Just think about the sheer paranoia and desperation of that for a second. The entire Pasteur Street compound was specifically wired with fiber optic cables, meaning all internal data traveled via light pulses. That essentially made the Orion satellite completely deaf to their communications. They even meticulously calculated the exact orbital timetables of enemy satellites, so they only scheduled convoy movements during the blind spots when the satellites had passed over. Talk about a high-stakes game of cat and mouse.
However, the geopolitical tectonic plates eventually began to violently shift.
Following the October 7, 2023 attacks, the entire operation rapidly accelerated. By November 2024, a change in the U.S. administration completely altered the diplomatic posture, and that provided the covert backing this operation so desperately needed. Fast forward to June 2025, and Operation Rising Lion begins. This was a massive wave of joint airstrikes that pushed the Iranian leadership deep into the heavily fortified lava zone bunker, a facility specifically designed to withstand incredibly heavy bunker buster bombs.
So now you have decades of raw data collected. Human analysts were just totally overwhelmed. So enter Palantir's Maven AI system. This AI crunched through thousands of hours of video, intercepted calls, and satellite imagery. It processed massive troves of intelligence in just 90 minutes. And its accuracy in predicting potential targets based on all that data, 98.7%. That is a chilling number.
So the crucial takeaway here is that this AI didn't just find locations on a map, it built a microscopic pattern of life. And this perfectly shows how modern warfare is crossing over with the kind of surveillance tech we see in our everyday lives. The system knew when a specific driver turned left at 6:45 a.m. It knew exactly which backup route they preferred during an emergency. It even analyzed the biomechanics of the Supreme Leader's actual walking posture so it could instantly distinguish him from a body double. It literally turned human habit into absolute mathematical certainty.
And all of this intense, meticulous preparation led to February 23, 2026. That's when agents intercepted the absolute golden ticket, a confirmed high-level meeting scheduled for February 28th. We are talking about not just the Supreme Leader, but 40 top officers. The IRGC chief, the defense minister, the Quds Force general, all of them, gathered in one place at one time. The clock was officially ticking.
But then came the shocking twist. You really can't make this stuff up. Just a single day before the strike, the intelligence suddenly updates. The meeting wasn't going to be held at night in the impenetrable underground bunker like everyone expected. Inexplicably, it was moved to the morning, and it was moved to the Beit A Rabari building, above ground. This sudden, massive vulnerability was all the intelligence agencies needed. By 3:38 p.m. Eastern on February 27th, the U.S. gave the final green light.
Which brings us to the climax, February 28th, 2026.
Let's break down exactly how this unfolded, literally minute by minute. At 7:30 a.m., F-35 and F-15 fighter jets launched from Israel's Navatim Air Base and U.S. regional bases. They are screaming toward Tehran. Just 20 minutes later, at 7:50 a.m., as those jets near Iranian airspace, an absolute information blackout hits the Pasteur Street compound. Mobile towers in the area are instantly jammed. The Guard's entire communication network just goes completely dead.
Now, what's really fascinating about this part is how flawless the cyber warfare execution was. It completely collapsed Iran's multi-layered air defense in seconds. Unit 8200 activated sleeper malware that they had secretly embedded in Iran's radar supply chain years ago. The screens for the Russian-made S-300 and Bavar 373 systems, they simply went blank. At the exact same time, a U.S. Navy EAHE aircraft floods the airspace with electromagnetic jamming, turning all remaining communications into pure static. And remember those drones smuggled into the country years prior? They wake up. They physically destroy the blinded air defense batteries right there on the ground. The shield vanished.
So now, the skies are completely clear, and the jets arrive directly over their target. The payload dropped on the exact pinpoint location of that meeting, 30. Blue Sparrow. Missiles.
At exactly 9:40 a.m., the climax strikes. These missiles actually left the atmosphere before dropping straight down at a 90-degree angle, slamming into the compound at hypersonic speeds. The visceral destruction was absolute. The leadership was wiped out right there on the spot. Out of the entire inner circle, only the son, Mujtaba Khamenei, survived, simply because he had stepped out of the meeting just moments prior.
But honestly, the aftermath might be even more chilling than the strike itself. Just 12 minutes after the missiles hit, millions of Iranian citizens received a push notification on their phones. It came through Badi Sabah, which is this really popular local religious app that had been secretly compromised. And the message popping up on all their screens simply read, "Help has arrived. Surrender." It was a completely haunting, psychological end to such an overwhelming kinetic strike.
As the dust settles on this incredibly detailed, highly speculative account, we are left with a really provocative question. How did an impossible pinpoint strike actually land so perfectly?
Why on earth was the most important meeting in the country inexplicably moved out of the safe underground bunker and put right above ground? And how did Quds Force General Ismail Qaani, a man who had miraculously survived 9 previous strikes, somehow manage to walk away yet again? The skies may have delivered the final blow, but we really have to wonder, was the ultimate breach actually an inside job? Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer, and as always, keep questioning the narrative.